All right, we are live, day 339. All right, we got a property today, 4-bed, 1.5 bath in Huitown. Just browsing a little bit, trying to figure out where these properties are. And Huitown's down here in the left here, southwest, outside of Birmingham. Let's go ahead and see what's going on with this property. This part looks relatively turnkey. Maybe some cleanup. Maybe you got to refinish a hardwood floor. I would probably put in money to paint the place because they're probably showing me just the best photos. It's like a renovated bathroom, so everything looks okay there. So what I'm going to do is assume that we are all set for the rehab. Let's go ahead and plug some numbers in here, right? See what set of terms would make this property a deal. Let me start a new file really quick. All right. 9-3. Check my audio really quick. All right, we are live. Okay, so this property, 231 Ridgeway, 4-bed, 1.5 bath. Let's go ahead and get our rents. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at what county this property is in by doing a control find. Is in Jefferson County, and then I'm going to go and look up HUD FMR. When you Google HUD FMR, you can click on the first link. FMR stands for fair market rents. And you can scroll down here to this area where it says that access to small area FMRs. When you click on access to small area FMRs, this is where you're going to be able to get looking up the FY 2025. This part just got released maybe 2-3 weeks ago. So when you click on FY 2025, you click on the state, you click on the county, and now you're going to get the rent ceiling by bedroom count, by zip code in this area. So in 35023, you're going to see that the rent ceiling here for a 3-bed is $1,600, and a rent ceiling for a 4-bed is $1,810. $1,600 and $1,810. 35023. Let's write this one down. $1,600, $1,810. That's pretty high, to be honest with you. 35023. So just something for you to kind of keep in mind. 35023, 35023. And I'm writing down these numbers, so my partners already know how I analyze deals, so they know exactly where these numbers come from. So now that I got my rent ceiling, I have to go look at my market rents, okay? Because my market rent is going to be used to determine what is the more reasonable rent in this stage. Now, I'm going to go to affordablehousing.com. I'm going to go to the owner section, the market rent estimator, and that's going to bring me to this page right here. Let me go ahead and copy over this page with the address, and I'm going to put it right into this address right here. And as a 4-bedroom, this property will rent out. Ooh, this is really high, $1,558. Let's see if that works. $1,558. And again, just be wary that the radius is pretty high, right? 3.2 miles. So let's write that down, 3.2. Let's see if this would be a deal. 1448, 1644 for the city. All right. Now, because I have my rent ceiling at $1,810 and my market rent at $1,558, I'm going to use the lower of the two rents, not $1,810, but $1,558. And why is that, right? I'm using that because of a test called the rent reasonableness test. If you pull up the Housing Choice Voucher Program Guidebook, HCV, which stands for Housing Choice Voucher, this is previously known as the Section 8 program. They rebranded it from Section 8 to the Housing Choice Voucher because of all the negative connotations associated with Section 8. Now, in Section 2.2, it says that in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA, or the Public Housing Authority, they're the ones that produces all the vouchers and manages the program and does all the inspections. They determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units. This simply means that you can't charge more rent than what the market deems is market rate, hence reasonable, just because they are a voucher holder. All right, that's typically the rule. And you find other places that don't do that. I mean, that's probably the exception, but for today's purposes, we're just going to go with this example. Now, when you do this, what you're going to see is that the more reasonable rent situation is going to be $1,558. Obviously, size, unit type matters, but typically you don't see 4-bedroom apartments being built. So I'm going to assume that these 24 units within a 3-mile radius are all single-family homes. So that's why I think the more reasonable rent is to use it as $1,558. in this scenario, right? Just being conservative here. Now, this property is listed for 170 grand. So I'm going to plug in here 170 grand in B4. And then from that point onwards, I'm going to add in my renovations. My renovation is going to be right here. Oh, I forgot. Did I plug in my chat? I did. Okay, good. My renovations. Let's go ahead and plug in some money for a little bit of painting. So 1496, so equals 1496. I'm going to divide that by 3. Maybe just a third of it needs to get repainted. Look, doesn't look bad in the photos, but certainly some cleanup needs to be needed. Don't think any new flooring at all. Maybe I can refinish maybe 300 square foot of flooring in case there's anything that's really bad that I cannot see from just the photos. I am going to have $500 for the landscaping. And in a scenario, I'm going to have $1,500 for the roof in row 6, just in case there's anything wrong with the roof that I can't see right now based on the photos. That gives me a total rehab of, forgot to talk to you about the high pressure flush toilets. So I'm going to usually replace the toilets with high pressure flush ones so I can stay ahead of any potential issues with clogged toilets. That's what I have in my Airbnbs. So I try to put that in place so I don't have any clogged toilet calls. So that gives me a total rehab of 6,700, which isn't bad at all. Now I got to go back and fix my formula in B6 because previously divided by 2 from the scenario we're looking at yesterday. So I'm going to delete that. So now we're back to 6,715. So for my property taxes, I'm going to get that number right from my payment calculator. It says $27. That seems really low to me, to be honest with you. I'm going to do equals 27 times 3 at least because $27 seems a little low. I don't know what's going on here, but you should always double check with your county records. 27 looks and sounds really low. So I'm going to triple that to $81 because I've normally seen properties in this county range roughly in the $80 to $120 range per month. So that seemed a little low for me just from my experience of underwriting deals in this area. So that's why I'm adding a little bit extra. For my insurance, I got $132. So I'm going to equals 132. And I'm going to multiply it by 1.2. And that's because I'm adding a 20% premium to this property because of the fact that I anticipate that my property is going to be an investment property. So typically insurance companies charge a higher premium because they view investment properties as a riskier insured product. So they're going to charge you more. So that's why I'm adding a 20% premium by multiplying by 1.2. Obviously, you should probably get an insurance quote before you close on the deal, right? That's just going to be common sense. Then I got 10% for my maintenance. This is money I set aside every single month for future repairs, for lawn maintenance, blah, 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 blah. Because this money truly does not belong to you. This is stuff, I mean, we got a quote for a roof replacement, and that's $15,000. I got HVAC repairs at our HVAC units. They total roughly around like $4,000 almost between 2 units at one property. So you know that these HVACs, these roofs, they're going to go out at some point. You have to figure out how and when you're going to make these replacements because ultimately they're going to cost you a little bit of money. And if you don't set aside money every single month, you'll be overestimating your profitability because you're underestimating your expenses. When you do that, you will eventually end up in a spot where you get a big bill for $15,000 and realize you didn't make any money for the last 10 years. So don't be that person. Make sure you set aside this money in the beginning and anticipate these repairs. For our property management, we're setting aside 10% of it for property management expenses of our monthly rent, and we got 5% for vacancies just because someone eventually moves out. For our other rental assumptions, we're going to assume that we're putting 25% down in F19. So my down payment is going to equals to my B4 times my F19, which is the down payment percentage. So I'm putting down 42.5K. I got 4250 for my closing cost, 6,700 for my renovations that we calculated earlier. And for my financing amount, let's go all the way to the right. Going to K6, my financing amount is going to equals to my listing price in B4 minus my down payment percentage in E19. So I'll be financing 127.5K. Let's analyze it using an 8% interest rate roughly. So if you were to rent us out property at $15.58 a month as a 4-bedroom, you would be just breaking even. So you're negative $650 a month, $6.50, negative $6.50. That's a 0% return on your money essentially. Should be negative, but let's just keep it easy. As since we bought this property $170,000 with a $6,700 rehab, 25% down, 8% interest rate. Now, The whole point of this exercise is for us to figure out what set of terms or price would make this a deal, quote unquote. Obviously, this is not investment advice. We're not soliciting any investments on this call. Simply showing you all the work that we do every single day to build on the reps and get practice over how to spot a deal. All right. So if I lower this to 150 grand, watch what happens to my cash and cash return. It starts going up, right? So as I go lower to 120 grand, 8%, lower to 110 grand, boom, 115 grand. If my cash and cash return requirement is 10%, I would be willing to pay 112 grand for this property. Assuming everything else stay constant at 1558, I will be cash flowing $313 a month. That's a 10% return, and buying this product for 112 grand. So that's how you adjust the levers to figure out what is a deal and what's not a deal. All right. So now that we got this in place, let's take a look at some other scenarios. Well, what if my rehab, because they probably did like a half rehab job, because if they're listing this property with a picture like this, that tells me somebody doesn't really care. Like, why would you leave a random pole there? That just shows me that someone's not paying attention to details, right? So let's just come on, just put in a little extra effort there. Okay, all right. So what we're gonna do is, well, what if the rehab turned out to be twice of what it is? Let's multiply the rehab number by 2. So now my rehab's 13 grand. See what happened to the cash and cash number. It went from 10% to 8.5. So now I'm willing to pay, let's say, 108 grand, 100 grand, 102. Okay, 103. Great. That's close enough. 104, 105. There we go. So at 105 grand, if my rehab doubled, right? So now it's at 13,400. I'm now willing to pay 105 grand, which is essentially 7 grand less because my rehab doubled, just to get back to the similar cash and cash return. If assuming I'm renting out for 1558 still with a cash flow of $351, so it would be right around 10%, but that's assuming 25% down and 8% interest rate. Now let's assume that everything else stayed constant, right? Rehab still doubled, but now my interest rate assumption got better. So my interest rate dropped from 8% to 7%. Saw what happened there? My cash and cash number just jumped from 10% to 11.5. So now, because my interest rate dropped by a whole point, my ability to pay more for the property goes higher. So now instead of 105 grand, let's go back to 112, right? So see what happened there? Everything else stayed constant. I'm still renting out as a 4-bedroom for 1558, but what I've been doing was adjusting upwards, up and down the purchase price, up and down the rehab, right? Just in case you get an inspection, you find out like, oh crap, there's so much more work to be done. But guess what? Even though my rehab doubled to 13,400, because my interest rate lowered to 7%, right? My willingness to pay went back up to 112 grand. So that's how you adjust up and down the levers to figure out what is a deal in your mind based on your own criteria, right? There are some people that will buy for appreciation, right? Because if they buy, let's say, $1 million home and it goes up by 5% every single year, I mean, that's like 50 grand. And that might outweigh a $300 cash flow a month deal any day of the week, right? Because that's way more money in a year. So you have to decide what's your investment appetite, what's your risk tolerance, and really that's a conversation that you got to have with your own investment professional to talk through what your strategy is and why you do it, right? Can you have a blend of both? Sure, but everybody has different sort of approaches to this stuff. So you got to figure out what is it that you're seeking and you're looking to accomplish, and then adjust your levers, your factors, your inputs in the spreadsheet up and down accordingly. So if you guys want to copy the spreadsheet, right? I didn't make the spreadsheet from scratch. I got it from a few other folks. I modified it. I tweaked it so that I can analyze deals faster, and I combined them. The fastest way to get a copy of the spreadsheet is put your name, your email, and phone number. I'm not going to spam you, but that is the fastest way for you to get a copy of the spreadsheet so you can play around with it. You can follow and copy my homework. And I really hope that you sincerely just copy my homework. Look at the same deal I analyzed today, put it on the same spreadsheet, put it on your own YouTube channel. And eventually you're going to realize that you know what you're doing simply from looking at the reps that you did over time. That's how you build a confidence in yourself that you know what you're doing. All right. Have an amazing day. I hope you all have an amazing Tuesday. I hope you guys all had a great holiday weekend. I'll be back again tomorrow for day 340. Have a good one, everybody.